Hello, friends. It is January 23rd, 2020. So I woke up, I had this tablet going, and it happened to be dialed into, actually, I think it was running all night. I did get some sleep, I hope. If you saw my last video, I talked about a DVD here, uh, Iraq for Sale, right? And I was kind of doing like product placement, like talking about the movie itself is about certain companies, and I wanted to look in honor of impeachment to 2016 and what this is still all about, which is that somehow vulnerability to the Russians increased with Trump. It's not like you need to prove collusion. You just need to say America got weaker, not greater. That's the psychology, right? And it all has to do with the war, the soft war through NATO to get those Raytheon weapons right up to the front line in Ukraine, right? It's like Ukraine versus Russia is now a place where you can sell arms, expensive ones, not just like pistols or anything. And a lot of stockholders depend on that kind of psychology, so we got to inflame it a lot. Now, I did have a look back at Russiagate quite a while back, and this morning I tried to make a YouTube rehashing that, mostly assuring my readers that I'm not coming off here as pro Q. In fact, sometimes on Twitter I've tweeted with a squiggle Q, that little in logic that means not sometimes or negate, like not Q, just to like distance myself from that whole thing. But I do bring up Q in this because I think psychology is important, is all I'm saying. You know, if you just live on the surface and play politics in kind of a shallow way, you don't acknowledge psychology. And I want to thank the Mueller indictment for really going deeper when it comes to the intelligence business and how, you know, the cyber fight between the Democrats and the Russians apparently came off. And so I've been going back, and it was fun to see that the Goofifer, excuse me, Goofy Sir, the Goofy Sir, the Gussifer, whatever. This website's still up, right? You can go there. Now, to believe the Mueller investigation, I am staring directly now at a work of art painted by or hacked together by the GRU. You know, this is a piece of Russian skills on display. But what the indictment shows is no matter how good that was, they got caught. And so, in terms of eye in the sky, you thought you could fool us, but we got you back. So don't question our skills, right? And it's like our eye in the sky is seeing, we caught you. We caught you. And I'm scrolling back here in the indictment to what I consider a colorful place where I think, you know, as a high school American history teacher, were I such, and I used to be, I was a world history teacher, but, you know, American history is part of that. I would start like right here because it's just so colorful and it's going to grip. I know my middle school students and my high school students would find this kept their attention. I think we've got very precise times between 4:19 and 4:56 p.m. Moscow Standard Time. This unit, it hacked or didn't hack. It's that unit itself. The conspirators logged into like a Russian intelligence unit, apparently friendly, right? Because this is not. This is the same. This is the Russians accessing their own hardware, right? A Moscow based server. And then they searched on these words. And it's like worldwide known, think twice about company's competence. Now, this is supposed to be before before Guccifer published his thing, because that came first at 7:02 p.m. So notice the difference in time there. They're looking for these words. They're looking for these words at 4:56, and just hours later, on the same day, later that day, they're going to first launch this page here that we're looking at. And some of the same phrases are going to be there. And we've got a lot of anti-Trump stuff here. Now you could call it not anti-Trump because apparently this is op research from the Democrats, but whatever, money flies by and names shows us who's got money and stuff. You could brag about being on here, I think, if you're a Democrat. Doesn't this one page doesn't but anyway, here's where it's like an ad for CrowdStrike, right? It's like this is the GRU trying to cover its tracks and make us all think that this isn't the Russians. And, they're saying bad words about CrowdStrike, but we all know, thanks to the government and this FBI investigation, which relies on CrowdStrike, that you need to think twice before you question that company's competence. I'm sorry. Like, losers, this is like thumbing our nose back at the GRU because they want us to think X, but we know why. We know different. We know that their story is full of holes, and we've got a closed case here. There's nothing you can really question. If you're the grand jury going through this, what are you going to question? You may want to see some of the forensics, the actual stuff. Like, let's go into a room where Agent X is being used and just watch it in action. Can we watch it take a screenshot? Watch the keystrokes going through the wire or piling up in a log or whatever. It'd just be fun to have more of a museum. And maybe someday we'll get that. I've been working on a World Game Museum, but way before that, like a maker shop. And in a high school, you're learning how voting machines work. You want to, if they're using machines, I assume so. So you want to go into civics, you want to be a competent democracy person. You'll know how those machines work. You'll have tried to hack them. You may have succeeded. We learn from our students what they're able to do, and that's an important part of education. If you're going to a public school, you're playing with voting machines as part of the curriculum, obviously, and studying about their vulnerabilities. And then part of that would be to come here and study this interesting part of American history where CrowdStrike is kind of getting a really good commercial for itself here, and they're highly supported by, you know, Digerati. It's kind of like the digitally literate are going to jump on board with this because it's so amazing what the GRU is able to do, and that they were caught red-handed by some even more uber spies. People who could watch the spies do their job and really trace it back to them, no matter about Bitcoin and VPN. Haha, we could see through all of that. So that's why this is a great commercial for CrowdStrike, and they make the most of it, right? So good for you, and we'll talk again soon.